So I'm a little bit late to the news, but apparently last Friday, February the 13th, a very famous public figure filed two trademark applications. And the trademark applications are for airports. So the news article that I was reading was immediately jumping to, is this a licensing push? Is the idea to get this trademark registered for purposes of licensing it to airports, in which case then the individual might be able to make a lot of money. But when I saw it, I kind of got excited because I thought that this was a great case to talk about the requirements of trademark law and the power of a registered trademark and whether a public figure gets special treatment. So I do need to back up a tiny bit. These trademark applications were filed in the United States. They weren't filed outside of the US, to my knowledge. Um, so the body that governs trademarks in the United States is the United States Patent and Trademark Office. And I can tell you across the board, without a doubt in my mind, that the trademark office and the trademark examining attorney that will examine these trademark applications will not give any special treatment just because this figure is public. So that concern is kind of resolved. We don't have to worry about that. But we still do need to kind of figure out what a trademark is, like I said, and also what are the benefits of a trademark. Trademark law is actually, it's a consumer protection law, actually, even though it falls under the penumbra of intellectual property. So unlike patents and copyrights, the benefit actually goes to the consuming public. So when you go into a store and you see a certain brand of aspirin, you might want to buy that instead of buying the generic because you say, hey, I trust this company more than this generic company. I don't know who they are. So I'm going to buy this. So you're protected in that way because you know where the goods are from and you've got a history with that company and you're happy with that company. Conversely, it could be the case where you've bought something and the quality isn't good. So then the next time you see that trademark, you're going to steer clear of those goods. So that's what a trademark does. And then how do you get a trademark? If you're a business, how do you get one? So trademark applications are broken down into categories of goods and services. You have to pick what goods and services you're offering to the consuming public. And then they're also broken down into in use and intent to use applications. So in the United States, you have to be using your trademark or else you can't get one. So for this public figure, this may end up being an issue if he or she doesn't actually start offering airport services, then they may never be able to register the mark. So like I said, you break down into categories, and then is it in use? Is the consuming public seeing that you're using this mark in connection with those goods and services, or are they not seeing it? In which case, it would be an intent to use application. So for these two applications, they were multiple class. They involved goods and services. So if you're at the airport, you might pick up some physical goods with this particular trademark emblazoned on that good. And then the services would be airport related services. And so that's multiple classes that these trademark applications are filed in. And then they're all on an intent to use basis. And so, again, what does in use mean? It really does mean the trademark needs to be used in interstate commerce. So it needs to be something that's regulable by the United States Congress. So in the case of services, usually a website is enough to demonstrate services because the Congress is able to regulate the internet. So once you've got a website, you're offering services to the consuming public and you're usually good to go. With respect to goods, you typically need interstate commerce. So if I'm in Buffalo, New York, if you're a New York resident and you have a sale to Pennsylvania, or Buffalo has the advantage of being close to Canada, if you've got a sale across international lines, that is regulable by the United States Congress. So that is eligible for trademark protection. It does demonstrate use of that trademark. So that's for physical goods. And then the airport services, like I said, the website, So, in the case of goods that are sold at an airport, what ends up being interesting is that you've got individuals that are flying in. They might be buying that watch at the airport. Let's just say the goods were watches. I looked it up. There, that is one of the goods. Um, so let's say they buy a watch at the airport, and then from there they go flying to another state. Well, then you've got interstate commerce there easily, and you've got, the airports are governable by the United States Congress. So I think demonstrating in you interstate commerce at an airport, I think that's going to be pretty straightforward. That should all be fine. And then the question becomes, once you get the trademark registered, how does licensing work? So you can certainly license your trademark to anybody that you want to, and this can be one of the powerful aspects of a registered trademark. You can ask for money in exchange for the person being able to use your trademark. You've built up a lot of goodwill under that registered trademark, and then that's actually what you're licensing. So if you think of any franchise like McDonald's, that's exactly what they're doing. They've got the trademark, and then they're licensing it out to their franchisees so that they can use it. This can allow for faster expansion, and you can make a lot of money licensing your registered trademark. One of the issues that you have to remember in the licensing world is that the owner of the registered trademark must control quality and must oversee the control of that quality, because otherwise you're going to start tarnishing your own brand, and the trademark office is not happy if you're not doing any type of quality control or oversight. So that is one of the limitations of that licensing agreement. It does put a burden on you to make sure that the quality control is there for the licensee that is using the registered trademark. With all this, you can probably tell trademark rights are very powerful. It does give you the ability to license. There are some burdens on you, of course. You do need to show that you're using the mark, and you do need to show that you're using the mark for all of the goods and services. You can't just say, oh, we've got it on our watch, so that should apply to golf clubs. It doesn't work that way. So you do need to show use of the mark in all of the classes and on all of the goods or services. Yeah, so if anybody wants to go check out the news and see who the public figure was, you can do that. But I'm going to keep this individual nameless for now, and I'll see you next time.